So all my faves are officially in danger. We love that for me. Hello my fellow weebs, my name is Bianca and this is my Weeby YouTube channel. Something you might not know about me is that I'm a huge My Hero Academia fan. Duh. And for the past couple of months, I feel like Horikoshi has been putting out some of the best chapters and I've been loving them, but unfortunately I have no one to talk to about them. So that's why I decided to film this video. I honestly just need to fangirl about this and freak out about it and, you know, just share my predictions for what might happen and what I hope will happen. So if you have not been keeping up with the My Hero Academia manga, and especially if you have not read the most recent chapter, chapter 282, I would suggest you click off, you know? Okay, if you're still here, I assume you're a manga reader or that you just don't really care about being spoiled. So at the end of chapter 281, we kind of left off with Gran Torino dying? Not dying, he's still alive, I assume, because Deku's fighting to kind of like try and save him, but you know, Gran Torino is a mentor. I feel like we all knew that eventually Gran Torino was gonna die. Oh, and speaking of Gran Torino, I don't know if I was the only one, but when I read last week's chapter, I kind of left with the impression that Gran Torino was the father of Nana's child. Because in last week's chapter, we're shown a flashback of Nana leaving her son, and then Gran Torino says something along the lines of, it was a decision we thought was best. And then we're shown a panel of Gran Torino holding and consoling a crying Nana. So is Gran Torino Shigaraki's grandfather? Did Shigaraki just basically kill his grandfather? I honestly didn't think Shigaraki's family situation could get more fucked up than it already was. So did you guys leave with that impression last week? I don't know. Tell me down below. Yeah, in chapter 282, Deku is going all out fighting Shigaraki. He's using 100% of All for One. Throughout their whole fight, Shigaraki kind of seems unbothered by Deku's power, which is kind of scary and again, just goes to show just how powerful Shigaraki actually is. After all the buildup, I don't think Shigaraki's gonna leave without winning, without destroying Hero Society in some way. So yeah, Shigaraki's pretty much holding his own against Deku. He doesn't really care. He's not feeling any pain. And finally, after being teased for multiple chapters, Shigaraki finally uses one of the quirk destroying bullets, and he uses it on Eraserhead, who is his #1 target. Without Eraserhead in the picture, Shigaraki can go all out and just steal quirks left and right, which is a scary thought, but I think it might happen. I think by the end of this whole battle, someone's quirk will get stolen. So the bullet thrown by Shigaraki actually does manage to hit Eraserhead. It hits him in the leg, in his very fucked up broken leg, might I add, and without hesitation, because he knows that if he loses his powers, Eri's just gonna be destroyed, and he loves Eri because, you know, Eraserhead, Dad Zawa, he's the best. He cuts off his own leg, so the effects of the quirk stealing bullet don't take effect. Like Shigaraki said, yeah, Eraserhead, you are cool. And that's why you're my favorite character. I think because that happened, I think it's safe to assume that Eraserhead isn't gonna lose his quirk. And also because I think Gran Torino is the one that's gonna die, I think it's also safe to assume that Eraserhead isn't gonna die. So I'm happy because it seems like Eraserhead is going to make it out of this alive and with his quirk. You know, and while Shigaraki is again trying to come for my boy Eraserhead, my son Todoroki, my other favorite character, finally shows up. I feel like for the past couple of weeks, a lot of us were wondering, why isn't Shoto here? His power would be a great asset for the heroes. And finally, it seems like Horikoshi heard our prayers because Todoroki is here and he is ready to fight. He is ready to protect his sensei Aizawa. We love it. We love to see it. But after Shoto arrives, we kind of cut away from these heroes and go back to Uraraka, Suyu, and Ida. So they're still evacuating the people and they're wondering where Shoto is because he went after Bakugo and Deku, but I'm kind of like, Ida, it's Shoto. Did you really think he wasn't gonna go and join the fight? Did you think he was actually gonna bring those two boys back? While we're with these three, we find out that their comms still aren't working, so they can't contact anyone. And then they find out through the media, which is so scary because they have to find this out from a different source because, you know, their communication is not reliable. But they basically find out that a giant villain, Gigantomachia, is on his way. So next chapter, I think we're going to focus on them and their attempt to stop Gigantomachia. I think they'll probably be reunited with a few students from Class 1A and Class 1B, and hopefully they can do something to stop Gigantomachia. I honestly don't think they'll be able to take him down. I'm thinking about all the powers that they have, and I don't think there's any quirk that can stop Gigantomachia. I think something that might happen is Uraraka might try to touch him to make him float, but I think Gigantomachia is so large and heavy, she won't be able to do that, because if I'm remembering correctly, in like the first volume, we're told that she has a weight limit to how much she can make float. So unless that weight limit has increased substantially because of all her training, I don't see her being able to make him float. But what I do see this trio and the rest of Class 1A and Class 1B doing is weakening Gigantomachia. So then when Gigantomachia actually makes it to Shigaraki, which he will because he is transporting the League of Villains and they need to make it there, I think when Gigantomachia finally makes it there, he's probably going to collapse, or he's just going to be unable to fight because the other students did their job, which I feel like that should be their contribution, that they're able to not completely stop Gigantomachia, but at least immobilize him in some way. So why am I so sure that Gigantomachia is going to make it to Shigaraki? Well, like I said, he's carrying the League of Villains, and the League of Villains needs to make it to Shigaraki because, okay, here I'm going to talk about a theory in the My Hero Academia fandom that I feel like we're gonna get confirmation on soon. So if you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard about it, basically the theory is that Dabi is Touya Todoroki, the son of Endeavor, Shoto's brother. I personally agree with this theory, and I think there's a lot of evidence in the manga that supports it. Now, I think it's very important for Dabi to get there and face Endeavor and Shoto, because I think by the end of this, Endeavor is going to be the one to lose his powers. Shigaraki has a few more of those quirk erasing bullets. And I think one of two things might happen. Either one, Endeavor will sacrifice himself for Shoto and end up losing his power, or two, he'll be so distracted by the revelation of Dabi being Touya that he ends up getting shot with the quirk erasing bullet. I don't think Endeavor's gonna die because I think he needs to live with the fact that he is powerless, while his firstborn, who he basically just fucked up, is now one of like the top members of the League of Villains. I think he's gonna have to deal with that as a powerless individual, and I think, you know, Shoto is gonna have to deal with that too and be the one to either take Touya / Dabi down, or perhaps bring him to the side of good, which I don't think is going to happen if I'm being honest. Another one of my predictions, and I think a prediction that a lot of us have, is that Deku is probably going to unlock another quirk during this whole fight, and it's probably going to be Nana's flight quirk. I think this will probably happen when Gran Torino actually dies and has a proper death scene where he just shares his final words, and then we'll probably get some more flashbacks with All Might, and it'll be really sad, you know, because it's a mentor death. That's gonna be fun to read. But yeah, that's what basically happened in chapter 282. Like I said, I feel like My Hero Academia has been putting out some of the best chapters for a long time. Right now, we're probably gonna abandon the Shigaraki Deku fight for the Uraraka Tsuyu Ida fight against Gigantomachia for a bit. And then we're probably going to go back to Deku and Shigaraki. Horikoshi likes to jump around, but I feel like wherever he jumps around, he makes it really interesting, and I'm entertained and, you know, fearing for my faves. With Todoroki officially showing up on the main battlefield, all my faves are in danger. So my favorite characters in My Hero Academia are Aizawa, Shoto, and Deku, and they're all there. And even though I don't think any of them are going to die, I think they're gonna suffer even more. So yeah, leave your thoughts for chapter 282 down below. I honestly need to fangirl to freak out about My Hero Academia with someone. Please. Also leave your predictions down below for what you feel is going to happen. Do you think what I said has any chance of happening, or have you thought of something different? I'd love to see. I really love reading different theories and predictions because I find some sort of validity in any of them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!